You want me to do Facebook?
I got it. We're live. Oh, are we? Yes.
We don't have anyone. I'm just gonna stand here for a little bit until I see some people joining.
Do you want me to do Facebook too? All of ours will see.
Okay. Sure.
If you think that.
Hello, I see we have one person on here. Let us know in the chat box who you are. We can't see who joins us. So as you join, if you'll drop your name and where you're joining from in the chat box, we can say hey and we'll know who's on here and get started. We were running a little late this morning with some technical difficulties, fashionably late, as I was reminded. And so I'm going to step out of scene here for just a moment, let a few others get logged on, and then we'll get cooking. Hey y'all, I saw a few more people logged on. If you missed me mentioning, we were fashionably late with technical difficulties. In fact, I just had the wrong browser open, so that was on me. If you're logged on with us, if you could drop who you are in the chat box on our YouTube page, or give us a wave and a shout out on our Facebook page so we can know who's here. Otherwise, we just can't see who you are. So we want to know who's joining us today to make it as personable, virtual as possible. So today, we're going to be cooking again. We were on here last month where we made salmon patties. So let us know if you gave those a try. I know at least one person or two people who have dropped me a note and said that they loved it and tried it, and it was super fast. That recipe, I believe, can be found on our website under the blog section for blogs. And you'll be able to view all of these videos afterwards on our blog page, and you'll have the recipe on there as well. So today we're going to be cooking again. And why are we cooking? So the whole reason we're doing this is because at Elevation Health, while we do primary care, I'm the dietitian. Heather is our nurse practitioner. And the whole reason we're doing a cooking show is because we really believe that the majority of your healthcare is outside of the walls of our office. So while we're here to guide you and lead you in your healthy lifestyle, we also know that the majority of your choices for your health happen outside of our office. So if there's anything we can do to help guide you during your decision-making, eating habits, your lifestyle, and give you tips and tricks to make it happen easier, then that's what we're going to do. So what we're making today is one of my favorite meals to make. I think it's one of Heather's favorite meals to make because it is really versatile. And we'll talk about all the ways that and all the different quote unquote diets, for lack of a better word, and all the different medical conditions that a meal like this can treat. But it's also fast. So we are both working moms, own our own business, and also mom of 2 kids each. So we need meals that are quick and easy to get on the table that we know everybody will eat. We don't want to take the time and fix a big meal and then nobody eat it, because that just makes for a grumpy evening, at least in my house. So we're making burrito bowls today. And the great thing about this, again, is if you make this recipe with lots of different options, and then allow kind of buffet style, allow everybody to fix their own bowls. It can be tailored to each individual's likes. We're also going to be featuring the Instapot. So last month we just used a griddle, which is a really great, super easy thing to pull out on your stovetop, easy to clean. Today we're going to be utilizing the Instapot. I know I've talked to a lot of people about the Instapot and how much you love it. So give me a thumbs up in the comment section or the chat box if you love your Instapot. And I also want to hear from you about things that you fix in your Instapot, because this will be the first of many videos using the Instapot. So we're going to get that started. What we're going to cook in our Instapot today is rice. One of the things I love about cooking rice in my Instapot, I'll let you hold that, is you can, if you have the Instapot that has a timer, you don't have to wait just till you're ready to cook dinner to have your rice ready. So if you're like me this time of year, or like many of us, where you are kind of running all over the place outside, have sports going on, you're usually walking in the door and it's already past dinner time. So with your Instapot, if you do have the Instapot that has a timer on it, or a delay start is what it's going to say on the Instapot, you can actually get your rice ready. So we're doing 1-to-1 ratio rice to water. So in here we have 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of water. And well, if you wanted to set it in advance, you could use the delay start feature to delay it up to almost several hours. So when you walk in that door, that rice is done. You can also do rice and beans at the same time. It is going to take longer if you're cooking dried beans. The reason I'm not doing that today, and why I've kind of gotten away from doing rice and beans at the same time, is that to me, it limits my leftovers. So what I'd recommend for you, and what I try to do, is cook once and eat multiple times, have multiple meals. So if I'm going to cook maybe 1 cup of rice, sometimes I'll cook 2 cups of rice so that I can have leftovers, so that maybe I can turn it, today it's a burrito bowl, maybe tomorrow it's the base for a stir fry. It could be used as a thickener in place of oats or breadcrumbs, and maybe a salmon patty or a bean patty. So it's just really versatile. If you like to make other kinds of bowls with different flavors, it's good to have on hand. So we're going to cook just the rice on the pressure setting, and we're going to do it for 7 minutes. So you can do the rice feature through a little bit of tweaking. I found that pressure cooking at 7 minutes is a really good number, a good amount of time. And then you'll let it natural release. If you know the terminology of the Instapot, allow it to naturally release for about 5 to 7 minutes as well. All right, so we're going to let that get started. We're going to do 7 minutes, and our rice hopefully will come out perfectly done. Today we're using a jasmine rice. There's all kinds of rices out there, and I love questions or comments about your thoughts on rice. I know Heather and I have had a lot of conversations about, do you eat rice? Do we avoid rice? It's higher in carbohydrates. And I really think that just comes down to depending on what your healthcare needs are and what your personal body needs are, how active you are. Doing things like basmati rice, brown rice, wild rice, even substituting that for quinoa. Those are all higher fiber options than jasmine rice. Honestly, jasmine is just what I had at home, so I brought it to use today. But anytime you can get a higher fiber grain, the more benefits you're going to get out of it, because it has slower digestion. So let me know what kind of grains you like. So we got our rice going, and if you're at home and you're starting your rice, this is another reason I like the Instapot, because you don't have to worry about watching your rice pot on the stove and worrying about it boiling over. So when I'm at home, I start my rice in my Instapot, and then at the same time, I use a bag of frozen peppers and onions, and I just get them already cut up in the freezer section at any of the grocery stores here locally, and I am really positive in the freezer section at any grocery store that you went to. And the great thing about that is just saute them. I actually sauteed these already in the bottom of my Instapot before I cooked my rice. So that's going to give a little bit of flavor to the rice. And that's just what I had. If you're at home, you can saute your peppers while you're doing your rice. You want to talk about the chicken? Why we love rotisserie chickens?
Sure. I use rotisserie chicken for a lot of different things just because it's so quick. It's easy for this meal because I don't have to wait to cook my chicken breast and then cut them up. It's already cooked. I just pick the skin off and then pull it apart and cut it up. I also use this sometimes to make chicken salad. It's just nice because it's already prepped and I don't have to do that part. So
why do you pick the skin off?
I pick it off because I don't like it. I'm just not a big fan of that, and I don't like the way that it cuts up and is in the way that it is in my meal. But you may have other.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason.
Hmm.
A lot of people might say, but the skin is the most flavorful part, and that's what makes it taste so good. But we also are going to remove the skin because that's where all the saturated fat is. So when you talk about inflammation, saturated fat, the skin is where all of that is. And so the meat itself, so just your pure chicken, really is a very lean source of protein. So we want to actually remove the skin and discard that. And don't necessarily go feed it to your dogs either because they don't need a bunch of saturated fat either. If you had fish skin, that's one thing. So we're going to pull the chicken. And I also love rotisserie chickens because you're going to have way more than you need for just this meal.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure about leftovers or you're not sure if you're going to be able to use it within 4 or 5 days, then freeze it. So you can take the chicken that you've picked, put them in single serving little baggies and stick it in the freezer. So then again, when you're in a pinch, the number one thing is why we're eating out, why we're grabbing fast food is we're busy and we don't have time to cook. But technically you didn't have to cook this chicken. So buy 2 of them when you buy 1 of them, pick them at the same time. It doesn't take that much more time if you're already picking 1 to pick 2 and stick it in the freezer. That way, and again, stick it in the freezer in single serving or servings for 2 or 3 because you don't have to thaw out a huge bag and then use it. And once you thaw it, then it's done. So we're going to pick the chicken. Now, the other reason that I think these bowls are great, so if you don't want to do chicken, if you are vegetarian or vegan or don't like chicken, you can keep the chicken out, and we're going to use some beans. So you'll still have 2 sources of protein to where you can do the chicken, or you can eliminate the chicken and just do the beans.
I usually end up using my vegetables. I keep them separate, and I almost always use them in an omelet the next morning.
It's a great idea.
It's just easy. The kids eat it. Sometimes they don't eat as much of the vegetable, but before school, it doesn't take very long to make an omelet as it does to make muffins or pancakes or whatever. Like, I feel like the omelet doesn't take me as long because it's frying an egg. And they eat that pretty well. So I usually end up using them for breakfast.
And if you have a bigger family and you don't often have leftovers, then plan for leftovers. Cook once, eat multiple times. So rather than just getting 1 bag of vegetables, get 2 bags of your peppers and cook them both in 1 big pan at one time. That way it's done. You won't use them all for this meal, but you stick them in an omelet, or you'll have leftovers from this meal that you can turn into lunch the next day, turn into breakfast, use again for dinner. I've even put cooked peppers on a salad before and just kept them cold, just because they add so much flavor. So we've picked our chicken. I have a napkin here. And again, that really didn't take long at all. If my husband were here, he would have definitely scoured over that and made sure it was completely picked, but I think that's good enough for us today. So we have a pretty good plate of chicken here. You can kind of see that's a lot. We won't use all of that. Even for a family of 4, that's more than you're going to use. So For sure, make sure you put it in a container to use again tomorrow. Throw it on a salad for dinner. You can, again, put it with stir fry or put it in a curry or make a chicken pot pie out of it. There's lots of things once it's pulled and once it's cooked. If you're really into meal planning, you could even get your own raw chicken and cook it in your Instant Pot on a Sunday, and then you would have it that you can pick all week. So we've got some bowls here, and we're gonna put the lettuce at the bottom. So we're gonna turn these into burrito bowls. One reason is I find them more filling than actual burritos. That also makes them slightly more moderate in carbohydrates. So we're not necessarily going for a specifically very low carbohydrate or keto style meal, but you do have more filling, and the more vegetables you can get out of your meal, the more satisfied you'll be. So you're going to take your lettuce, the darker green, the better, and put it in the bottom of your bowl. And then when our rice is done, we're actually going to fill our rice in your bowl as well. Meanwhile, also while we're waiting for the rice, we'll get our beans opened up. I'm using black beans. That just tends to be a favorite, but any bean is great. Pinto beans, white beans, whatever your favorites are. And we're going to chop up our cilantro. So we have cilantro here. You can use cilantro to get more flavor out of your bowls, and then you won't necessarily need dressing on your meals. So we chopped up our cilantro, and then to me, it's the toppings that makes this bowl my favorite. So besides the beans, the chicken, and the peppers, which is really going to be our filling, our sustenance for that meal, along with the rice if you want rice. The toppings are what make it fun. So sour cream, of course, is a common topping for burritos, tacos, things like that. We have a couple of substitutions that can take sour cream and just make it a little bit healthier. You want to talk about our favorite substitution?
Yes. So our favorite is Greek yogurt, just plain Greek yogurt. I kind of stumbled upon this while I was having dinner at Maggie's house one day, and I asked for sour cream, and she was like, I don't have any sour cream, but I have Greek yogurt. So I used that, and you really can't tell a big difference at all, and it's much healthier. As long as you can tolerate it, it's a much healthier option than the sour cream.
Yeah, and if you do dairy, the other benefit is that it's a little bit higher in protein. So you're getting a little bit extra protein, really no sugar out of that. So we're going to have that on hand. Another favorite that we've discovered here in Ashe County is at Ingalls. You can get plant-based sour cream, and it is made from flax. And so again, it's doesn't have the protein, but it's a really pretty good substitute in terms of flavor that I'll use. And sometimes in recipes, I'll even use this instead of mayonnaise.
Yeah, I use that. Sometimes I've used that to make macaroni and cheese.
Make it creamy.
That's
a really good idea.
We try to stay away from dairy with my daughter, and so I've used that, and it works really good. It's creams, and it's kind of sweeter. I think it's a little bit more sweet.
It
than
does taste
regular
sweeter.
sour cream. It doesn't have sugar, so I don't
It
know what
doesn't
makes
have sugar. I don't know either.
I don't know why it's sweeter, but it does have a little bit more of a sweet taste.
So far, here's the versatility that we've got in our burrito bowls. You can make it vegetarian or even vegan by eliminating the chicken and using a plant-based sour cream, sticking with vegetables, beans for your protein, and then avocado for some healthy fat, which we'll go through cutting that up shortly, and then filling the rest of your bowl with vegetables. You can make it lower carb by reducing your portion of rice or eliminating your rice altogether, sticking with the chicken and maybe a little bit of beans. Even if you're doing low carb, I would choose your beans over your rice just because you're getting more fiber out of them. So they're more filling. And so the lower carb version is going to be, again, lettuce as your base, lots of peppers and onions on top, chicken for your protein, extra cilantro, avocado, and tomatoes. If you're non-dairy, this works great because the only thing really would be your toppings. And so you can go with a plant-based sour cream. We don't have cheese for our bowls. So for cheese lovers, you could add a sprinkle of cheese. I would just say go easy on it just because that can really up the calories pretty quickly, can up the fat pretty quickly. So just keep that modest if you're going to add cheese to it. Let's talk about avocados. So I've had a lot of people actually tell me that they don't know how to cut an avocado. I don't think I have one anymore.
Oh, it's right there.
Perfect.
Have you already opened these?
I did.
Oh, well, hand me that and I'll pick that up.
So we're gonna cut an avocado together. I don't know if y'all are well versed in it, but I have had some patients. Our rice is done, so we're gonna let it natural release.
I was going to turn it so they could see the front.
We're gonna let it natural release for
I'm not gonna
a
blow
few
myself up.
minutes because that's really what's gonna allow it to like plump up fully the way it's supposed to. So when you're cutting up an avocado, the way I typically do it, now you may YouTube this since you're already on YouTube or on Facebook, how to cut an avocado, and you may get a better way to cut it. But the way I typically do it is to start at the top and make one slice lengthwise all the way around my avocado. And then I just use my knife while I'm already slicing it to pop the two pieces apart. So you have one side with the seed and one side without. Little fun fact, if you leave the seed, if you're just cutting this one half of the avocado up, cut the half without the seed. Because if you leave the seed, it'll actually help prevent it from browning as quickly. The seed has its own natural, whatever you call it, enzymes, to make sure that the avocado doesn't brown. Same if you're making guacamole or pico with avocado. If you'll actually, once the avocado is cut up, leave the seed in the dish, it'll help prevent it from browning as quickly. So that's kind of a fun fact. So we've got, I like my avocado in slices, mostly because I can visually portion it a little bit easier. So a quarter of an avocado is considered one serving of fat, quote unquote. So a quarter of avocado is going to be roughly 9 grams of fat. And so if you take a quarter of it, there's 9. If you do half, there's 18. So that kind of gives you an idea of, it's way easier to add up fat in your meals than it is carbs and protein. It just adds up because there's twice as many calories per gram of fat. So I like to slice it lengthwise because I feel like I can visualize my portions better than if it's in cubes. Just because everything I've learned about portions came in slices of avocado. So I'm going to slice it while it's in the skin. And then I'm just going to take my spoon and literally scoop out the slices of avocado. I feel like I have Vanna sitting here next to me. Just knows it gets everything we need.
I'm pretty sure I overeat my avocado portions now that you divided it up.
All right. So when you do it that way, you get nice, pretty slices of avocado. So we're just going to cut up half of it. You can store the other half if you will use like a press and seal or a saran wrap. Leave the seed, press the saran wrap as tight as you can against the skin. It'll be perfectly green. It won't brown. You can still eat it if it's brown. It's not bad. It's just an oxygen reaction. So you can still eat it. It is not bad. So we've got our avocado, got some extra tomatoes. We're going to go ahead and release the vent for our steam and hope that our rice is nice and cooked.
Beans.
We got our beans. We can empty those in a bowl. If I'm at home, I might empty my beans into a pan and add some seasonings. Flavor. The more flavor you can add, the less salt that you need, or the less, sometimes less fat you need as well. These are not low sodium beans, but you can find low sodium beans at the grocery store. So if blood pressure is your health problem that you're working on, I would go with low sodium beans or even dried beans that you can pressure can. And just really use more flavor. So we're going to add a little bit of cumin. We're going to actually add these to the beans. So we're going to add a little bit of cumin. Cumin, I love cumin. It smells so good. And we're going to add a little bit of smoked paprika, thanks to the Spice and Tea Exchange in West Jefferson.
Shout out to Tea and Spice Exchange.
Elevation Health members actually get a discount at the Tea and Spice Exchange. So we're going to season our beans a little bit. You can season your rice before you cook it. That's perfectly fine. But more flavor, more seasoning, the better. Sometimes I'll use, because we don't do a lot of meat in my house, I'll use liquid smoke in place of like a pork or a smoky, for that smoky flavor.
I use that in my pinto.
I use liquid smoke in my pintos. So if I can move that off. There we go. It's hot. Sweet. So our rice is done. So it took only a couple. Oh, it looks beautiful. It only took a few minutes to pressure up. If you will, when you're adding water to your Instapot, if you will use hot water, so get the hottest water you can get out of your tap, or actually boil some water real quick on your stove if you have a tea kettle. And we have an electric tea kettle, so sometimes I'll hit it real fast. If you put hot water in your Instapot, it'll come to pressure faster. So just that's a little tip that I've figured out. So we are ready. We have a buffet. We've got our rice. We've got our peppers and onions cooked and sauteed. We have our black beans and chicken for protein that you can choose. We have our bowls of lettuce ready to go. Our avocado, tomatoes for topping, cilantro. Load up on that cilantro unless you have the enzyme in your mouth that makes it taste like soap. Then you can choose something else like parsley. And our avocado and sour cream. So this is a great, I use this a lot if I'm entertaining as well. If we, pre-COVID days when we could have more like dinner parties or so, this is really great. Or if you're ever catering or trying to figure out what to do for a meeting, if you have a meeting at work, something like this is fantastic because everybody can pick and choose and kind of make it their own. So I think we've been on here, about 30 minutes, you think? Jess is nodding her head, 30 minutes. So literally, dinner is ready to go, 30 minutes. It doesn't all have to be cooked from scratch. It's okay to rely and fall back on canned beans, frozen peppers and onions that are already cut up, rotisserie chicken. If you do this on a Monday, it's going to make your Monday evening so much less stressful because now you have all kinds of leftovers. And I sometimes will not only take my leftover peppers for breakfast, but I'll take some leftover beans and just put my beans, and then I'll do a cooked egg and some peppers with it. And that's a really filling, fiberful breakfast. So we are grateful to be able to do this. Of course, the recipe can be found again in our blog on our website at www.elevationhealthpc.com. Also there you can learn about our memberships and our model of healthcare. So we're grateful for your time. Hope you enjoyed. Get to cooking, get to eating healthy, and take care of yourself. Feel great.
Let us know if you have any questions.